What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Paperback Dan, and I'm here with Tommy and Tyler, the writers. You guys are both writers, right? Both co-writers.
We're the co-creators and co-writers.
That's the better word. Co-creators. That's the one I was looking for. Of Oswald and the Star Chaser. They're here to talk about their book and some other stuff. So, welcome, guys. I'm thrilled to have you here. You guys are the first interview that I'm doing on this channel, so I hope you feel somewhat honored. I feel honored that you reached out to me to promote this. So thank you, first and foremost. And I mean, tell us a little bit about yourselves. Tyler, you look like you're itching to answer first. So tell us, a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your comic history, like how long you've been reading comics, trying to make comics, etc.
Yeah. So my name is Tyler Villano, and I guess first and foremost, before all the comics, I've been a graphic designer, kind of right out of college. So for the past 10, 12 years. And I guess I could even call myself a comic writer. Like, when did the writing start? It was about when I met Tommy. So that's been for like 5 years. I guess just us kind of writing a little bit. How long have we been professional comic writers? I think 2 years, I guess. And yeah, I come into comics with a very eclectic background as far as like influences go. Like, I'm very much into music and kind of that whole scene, and that kind of bleeds into comics, which is Tommy's kind of whole background. And I think I started reading comics about that same time that we started collaborating. I was a graphic designer at Midtown Comics. This is right when I moved out into the city in New York, because I grew up in New England. And yeah, so I was a graphic designer out in Midtown Comics. I was, every Monday, I was it's just stuffed up in a little room in the warehouse, scanning every single item that came out that week. Like, no shit. Like, I had the bag on board. You have to take it out, scan it, put it back in. Next one. So my whole life was comics then, and that helped me kind of really jump into it, because Tommy was already, he'll tell you about this. He's kind of always been comics, and even today, he's keeping up with everything.
Okay, so what's your deal, Tommy?
Yeah, so I don't know if I'd say a lifelong comic fan, but close enough, I guess. I don't remember where I started. I think I got really into it with the Cosmic Marvel stuff, and then from there to the indies and Marvel. Now I'm kind of reading mostly independent stuff, but I've always wanted to write a comic book. I think even in college, high school, I had ideas floating around my head, and I was always jot down little notes and stuff for myself. It was only after I met Tyler, when it started to kind of cool us into like, oh, we can actually make something. So we had a few little ideas, stuff we experimented with before fully getting Oswald and the Star Chaser.
So, I mean, both of you have kind of briefly mentioned this. It seems like a turning point for both of you, and I was going to get to it. How did you guys meet? How did you two come together to work on this project?
So, yeah, it was, I would say 2014. So it was right before I moved in the city. We met on an MMORPG called Final Fantasy 14. And I feel like that is a very kind of new age, creators coming together kind of story. It's not like we met at the comic shop in the 90s or something. We met over an online fantasy game. Tommy was an elf and I was a cat girl, just straight up. That's what I was playing. And we had a whole friend group there. And for anyone who knows that game, there's a lot of just kind of hanging out, and you're not always slaying dragons or whatever. You're just kind of chilling. And we just started talking a lot about our interests, and then comics came up, especially once I started working for Midtown, and comics were my everyday. That's when Tommy and I started pushing those ideas, and let me hand over to you, Tommy.
We originally were gonna do a superhero comic that we were looking into.
Oh yeah.
And then between work and school and everything, that kind of fell on the back burner until we just kind of agreed that, yeah, this isn't going to go anywhere. We'll have to try something new. And then I pitched Oswald and Star Chaser to you several years ago. And that was when we really started to get into this space. It was like, okay, now we can actually collab on, now we have something to work on. So that was when we kind of moved from there. And originally Tyler was going to be the artist because he had his design background, and I would be the full writer. And then the team expanded from there.
Yeah, I tried drawing. I tried my hardest to draw something for us for a little submission for, was it 2016 or 2017? Image Comics had this submission. It was a creators for creators, and you could submit something, a little 5-page pitch, and it could become a thing. And yeah, I'm a much better letterer. I'm a professional letterer than I am an artist. So yeah, I'm very glad we have the artists that we got. Yeah, continue.
You mentioned that you're a graphic designer. Do you think that like helped you get into lettering and like do that on like a professional level and do well at it and etc.? Like, do you think it helped you?
Oh yeah, 100%. It would have been totally different. Not that it's impossible for someone to, pick up Illustrator and pick up Blambot's lettering guide and get to work. That's totally viable, but I definitely had that advantage that I was, super familiar with all the programs. That all I had to really add on to it was lettering.
Right. So, yeah, no, I mean that's good because I mean, like you said, like anybody could pick it up, but like there's good examples of lettering and bad examples of lettering. So like I think I can see why you would have an advantage over someone like you said who's picking it up and like looking at a book for like reference type deal.
Mm-hmm.
And you were the co-writer and letterer for this book, right?
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
with Tommy doing the kind of main writing credit, but it's every step of the way. It's a collaborative process for sure between us two.
Nice. So, is anybody else on your creative team someone that you met through Final Fantasy?
No, that's it.
Fair enough. And there's zero judgment here because I've also made friends through Xbox Live that I consider real life friends, and like we've met up before and stuff. So I get it, and I think that that's fucking awesome. Just to get that out of the way.
No, for sure. Yeah, but it's ironic. Tommy, to tell him where, at least on the number one, where the two artists are from, because they're not local.
Yeah, so the main artist for the book, Tom Hoskison, I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right, and then the colorist Simon Robbins, they're both from Australia. And we found them through a subreddit, comic book collabs.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty nice little community for finding people to work with on comics.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it existed. That's awesome.
It's actually, I was surprised that we posted the listing, and then there was every artist was like, wow, this person should be published. why are they on? It was like, it felt like, oh, everyone's here. It was really tough because everyone was so good. But yeah, it's a great community. But yeah, they're both from Australia. Tom does a lot of creative stuff with his art. He's always doodling little things like, hey, we could put this in the book. I was like, oh yeah, we'll figure something out for that. It's really great.
So, I mean, while I did want to touch on this at one point, and since we're talking about the artist and colorist duo, I love it. I didn't read the whole thing. You sent me the whole thing, but I just looked at the ash can just so that like it could still kind of be fresh for me when I read it in February. Because like I'm already sold on the book. Okay, like you're not here to sell me. Like you're gonna get my money, or Scout's gonna get my money. However it works, that's gonna happen. But I really like the two things that stick out to me is that first, I mean, I think it's technically the second page, but like that first full like body shot of Oswald in his like armor or like gear, whatever you want to call it. Like I thought that was awesome. I loved the color palette. I mean, throughout, but on that panel specifically, like the character design was awesome. Like immediately I looked at it and I was like, this is a character that I can get invested in because like character design goes a long way for me. It doesn't take very much of like, if this character looks cool, I'm sold. Like I'm a fan. Like I'm good. And that absolutely happened already with Oswald. So shout out to your artist and colorist. But the other page slash panel that I wanted to talk about is the one that comes right after that, where you're talking about the evil king, and I don't even know how to explain it, but just it felt so like experimental and cool, and like the evil king still like looks ominous and like ambiguous. You don't know what he looks like. I just that whole because it's a I mean it doesn't translate well in a PDF, but like it's a 2-page like spread, right? That whole
Mhm.
it looked awesome, and I can't wait to see
Yeah.
it like physically in person. But yeah, shout out to your artist and colorist. They are killing it.
Yeah, we call that the storybook spread. That was one of the original things I kind of came up with, was this big spread of explaining the whole background story, and Tom and Simon definitely knocked it out of the park. There
For sure.
there's a
I was
few pages in one that I was really excited to see inked and colored.
and I mean that one
Yeah.
thumbs up for me. And I'm glad that you put it that way, because I was trying to find, I was like, how do I describe this page? I mean, thankfully it was right after the one that I was talking about initially, but I was like, how like the words are not coming to me how to describe this page, but it's so fucking cool. And I can't get enough of it. And that's the perfect way to put it.
And I've been looking at those 2 pages. I lettered it as well, so I've been looking at those pages, all these pages, for 2 years. So that spread in particular, I've definitely taken it for granted at this point. But now, and once we're really talking about it, and when it went from that 2 pages in a Word doc into the fully rendered thing, did Tom definitely phenomenal job translating that, and the visual aspect, like what would this kind of cyber space version of a storybook kind of look like. And then so Simon did all the coloring for number 1, and it just but looking forward to seeing that full size for sure.
So all right, Oswald and the Star Chaser. I mean, you said 2 years ago you guys were, well, you said Tommy had pitched this idea to you, and it was 2-ish years ago, more than that.
Well, 2 years was when we actually made the number 1. That was 2019, 2020. The actual pitch was as far back as my scribbles, like the first doodles of Oswald, because I'm not an artist, but I do a lot of sketching and little cartoony stuff.
Mhm.
Those date back to like 2016, I think. It's 2015. It's been kind of in back and forth, on I think on Steam, because Discord wasn't really a thing then, not yet. Over Steam chat, we would just toss some nightly ideas about the Star Chaser. Nothing too concrete, but just whenever we would be on a walk, or Tommy's always on walks, coming up with great ideas. He would just message it to me, and so I guess over a few years, we just the ideas, the seeds were forming, and then 2020, I guess, was when we got the artists on board.
So then my question is to Tommy, what was the pitch? What did you tell Tyler that made him go like, I'm in?
So and this is a while ago, but I remember, I think it was 2 things that I had said. I think I said a space, I think it was a sci-fi fairy tale adventure mashup kind of thing. I know that was a big thing, stressing like the fairy tale aspect of like a knight going on an adventure through space. And I had the title in mind already, where it was Oswald and the Star Chaser. And I think those two things together was kind of what sold Tyler. So I remember when he read it, he was immediately like, "All right, I'm in. Let's do this."
I
So
mean,
I
to
think,
be fair, that would have been enough to get me also. Someone had like I have zero writing credentials, and if someone approached me like, "Hey, I want to make this book and it's going to be about this," I would have said, "I don't know how much I can help you, but I'll do whatever I can." That sounds great.
right?
Tommy is missing. Tommy's missing. Tommy's not wrong. You're correct. But there's one other aspect which just really got me on board, because Tommy knows I'm a big fan of Boba Fett. This is from when I was a kid. With the action figure, and I'm a big Metroid fan. Just to ever since I was super little. And Tommy said, that Oswald, Oswald's cool. I'm like, all right, he's this scrappy kid with the sword. That's awesome. But who's Star Chaser? And the pitch for Star Chaser, this was it to get me on board. What was it, Tommy?
I think it was just person with the cool guy helmet.
Yeah, the cool guy helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a cool girl helmet, cool guy helmet, but the cool guy helmet. If there's a cool helmet, I'm like, I'm on board. This is before we really knew what Star Chaser was going to look like. We didn't have Tom Hoskins's interpretation, which we would get 4 years later. I drew a lot of these little helmets, thinking, trying to grasp the essence of the cool guy helmet, which wasn't totally aping, Boba Fett or Samus.
Right. Nice. I love how simple that it was for both of you, for like to just be sold on it. I think that's great. Just taking an idea and then just being like, yeah, sure, and just running with it. And I think from what I've seen, like I said, I only looked at the ash can. I wanted to save the rest of the issue like for later so that I get like the full experience of it. But the ash can ends with I guess his name is Star Chaser. That part wasn't explained in the panel, but I think he looks awesome too. So again, shout out to the artist and colorist duo. They're crushing it throughout the book.
You think she looks awesome?
Oh, it's a yeah, I guess it's never revealed who or what they are. So fair enough.
Well, technically not in that Ashcan preview. I think I do use the pronoun. After the pages, that there's the little the pages after it that I designed. You can probably put it on you can superimpose stuff after we talk, the pages where it's the like visual dictionary where it has all the info. But I think it's like 5 pages later. No, it is revealed. Not her identity, but that she's she. And it's also I got it in the synopsis there too. But because, and that was not. It was always going to be that way, but I pushed for it to be kind of more in your face and blatant in the number 1. And because that was when the head of design at Scout Comics, I was on a call with him, Marcus Guillory or Gilroy, one of those is the correct pronunciation. And and Marcus is like, because I think he'd seen the number 1 like a draft version, and he's like, Tyler, I'll be straight up with you. Are there any women in this comic? And I'm like, yes, Star Chaser is. She's a female protagonist. And he's like, but I couldn't tell. I thought it was like a robot. So yeah, so you do learn that in the number 1.
Okay.
I think that's important too.
Okay. And I do want to talk about I didn't get to read all of it because admittedly there was a lot and I was kind of cramming just to make sure I was ready for this.
Yeah.
But like I thought that was awesome. There's like 5 or 6 pages of just like lore for like this universe that you have going now. And like I can't speak highly enough about that kind of thing because it makes me feel like you're putting a lot of thought into this project, which makes me think that you care about it a lot, which I have said for years reflects like the effort that you put in and the quality of like the final product.
Yeah, we appreciate that. I'm so silly. I have the the little demo ash can here. It's the pages look like this, and I just we made these from scratch and just gave a lot more just extra detail and fun stuff to kind of justify the purchase of the ash can. You get a little extra that is not in the number one, and it's like a little collector's piece almost. Extra lore to share with your friends.
So
enjoy.
I wanted to get to this too, since we brought up the ash can. You have one physically. Is it like still accessible? Like, is it available for anyone to look at, check out?
Is it accessible, Tommy?
So right now, Scout is printing. I don't know the exact number, but they're printing out
1,200.
Yeah, 1,200 ash cans. They don't have them on sale yet. They're waiting for them from the printer. But once the Scout press release for Oswald and the Star Chaser is out, you'll be able to buy an ash can from them.
Yes, direct from their site. It'll be $5-10. I made sure to keep them the pages low enough that I think it will be $5. It won't be 10 or 15.
Okay, cool. Well, that's good.
But that is coming soon to scoutcomics.com.
So, I mean, we kind of like have a little bit of the gist of the book based on the pitch you told us. We haven't like full blown gone into detail, but what's your, I get Tommy, since I guess this was your pitch initially, what is your like target audience? You know what I mean? Like what did you draw inspiration from that fans of that should come read your book?
So the book, it's aimed for, I know it's kind of a cop out to say all audience, but we're kind of tracking for a book that anyone can enjoy.
Sure.
In terms of like the closest thing, this is gonna sound kind of weird, but if you've seen the Venture Brothers, it's a little bit of the same kind of humor where it's kind of like almost this insane world, but everything is just treated seriously. And then a little bit of Invincible with that same kind of thing where you've got these absurd situations, but there's no like winking at the reader. It's like, no, this is what we're doing. This is earnest.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So it's kind of like if you've like the more out there stuff, like not like that's super crazy, like, but you like the pulpy stuff of comics where it's treated seriously, Hickman or Remender's Marvel work, not Hickman, Kirkman, Remender's Marvel work, or the Venture Brothers, you kind of feel like, okay, this is a vibe I can go with.
Okay. And I mean, I guess, obviously if you're into fantasy, sci-fi, like mashups, like you said, fairy tale, like if that's your jam, like then this is probably also a book for you.
Yes, if you kind of like adventure books, I feel like there's not a lot of fantasy adventure books like Let's Go on an Adventure. I know there's By the Horns every now and then. There's one from Image, so if you kind of jonesing for that,
I'm a sucker for that stuff, and I agree with you that there's not a lot. I've been meaning to read By the Horns, so it's funny that you mentioned that, and I feel like Twig from Image recently also kind of filled that void a little bit, and I thought that was good. But yeah, no, that's good, because like you said, I feel like it's kind of lacking, like in the industry, like as a whole, at least like in the direct market. Maybe like Kickstarter, like independent stuff, there might be something, but yeah, I'm probably gonna read By the Horns this weekend now, since you just mentioned that. I have the trade. I'm the worst about reading stuff. Like I love comics, but like I don't read nearly as much as I buy, and I might need an intervention. I don't know.
Yeah, I have a huge stack on my nightstand that every now and then I'll plug away a few of them, and then I'll start reading one of the books I'm reading through, and then it's like, oh, I gotta get through these comics.
Yeah, then that's Wednesday, and you bring home 10 or 15 more.
All right.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and then I'll go on League of Comics to see what's coming out. I'm like, oh, this looks cool. This looks cool. This looks cool. And then I got like 5 new indie #1s, and it's like, when am I gonna read this?
And that that's a problem that I have. Like I do the same thing. I'll go on a previews world. I'll see like, okay, what's coming out next week. I don't already have like this, and this on my pull list, but it looks cool. Like I'm gonna get it. And then like if my shop doesn't have it for whatever reason, then I'll probably buy it digitally on like Comixology or whatever. So like it piles up when I have so many number ones of books that I haven't read, but I wanted to give a chance. And like a lot of it is stuff that I wouldn't have heard of without checking the previews. And that's like part of the whole point of me like doing this whole channel anyway, is because like I like putting people on to stuff like your book specifically, because I think I'm gonna love it. Like I'm sure if I told my friends like, hey, I just interviewed the guys that are gonna do Oswald and the Star Chaser, and they're gonna be like, what the fuck is that? And then I'm gonna tell them about it, and then you know, hopefully they'll also give it a chance, whether it, you know, is in trade form or that's irrelevant. But like again, like I do that with them so often already. Like I put a bunch of them onto books that they'd never heard of, and I want to continue to do that. And this is like the perfect book to start that with, to be honest. Like, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, Tommy does that a lot for me. He's put me on a lot, you know, even stuff that got me started. But I actually wanted to just chime in and elaborate on Tommy some of the technical side of that question. Scout Comics, I've seen on the creator previews that were sent from publication. Shout out to Sean Callahan at Scout Comics. He's doing a great job. He's on the production side of our comic, so he's always sending us the once it's like, you know, all put together for us to approve. But on the back of those, it's not on the back of the ash can, but it's going to say we're rated teen by Scout. I see us compared to some other comics, you know, we're kind of the preteen E10 plus. I remember ESRB added that in like 2005 or something.
Yeah,
We're kind of E10 plus. It's not like a kid's book, you know, per se. Like there's a little violence, but there's not like sex and gore or whatever, and there's really no swearing. So we're kind of that preteen age. If kids could steal their cousin's book and read it too, I think. But at the same time, you know, a teenager can enjoy it. I enjoy it.
right.
My
And
dad
I think that there's like a whole discussion to be had about the difference between like a book that's all ages and a book that's for kids, because people like keep conflating the two and they think it's the same thing. And I kind of hate that, because like it's not like, just because a kid can read it doesn't mean that it's catering to kids specifically. You know, like everyone like gets like they make a big fuss about like as adults, like if you watch cartoons or whatever, like just because like it's an all ages show doesn't mean that it's for kids, and it doesn't mean that like I'm a grown up kid for watching the show, or like, you know what I mean? Like so I hope that
yeah, that's something I kind of stressed when we were writing it, is that it's not a kid's book, it's an all ages book. I think the best example that everyone would relate to would be Star Wars. It's an all ages movie. You can take your kids there. You can, if you're a kid, you probably watched it, or you can watch it as an adult. A lot of people watch it as adults still. I still watch it. It's everyone can enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I hope that like I said, like there's a whole discussion that could be had about it, and I hope that like the perception starts to shift eventually, and you know, because sometimes it negatively affects things, and I don't want it to negatively affect something like Oswald and the Star Chaser, because I think it looks fucking awesome. So
yeah, that the Star Wars is a great example, because as far as like a thing that you call all ages, because yeah, what that means to me is that it is like a, you know, a multifaceted piece of a film or a comic that there is stuff, you know, for all ages. Like when I was a kid, I was all about the action and the lightsaber fights and Luke Skywalker, and I didn't really care or even really notice about, you know, the romantic arc with, you know, Han and Leia and then Luke and that kind of triangle that kind of happens. But when I'm an adult, like I kind of notice that more. So I feel like there might be parts in our book where, you know, stuff that an adult would kind of take more away than a kid, and vice versa.
right. No, I mean, yeah, that's good. Um, so I guess we haven't technically, like, we heard the pitch, the 3 sentence pitch that was enough to get Tyler on board. But what was your like elevator pitch, I guess, for Scout when they like got on your radar to potentially publish this?
So we went through different iterations because we were
Yeah.
pitching to a lot of people.
Mhm.
I don't have the elevator pitch on hand to quote verbatim, but I know the big thing was Oswald Bretters, this young space knight, is kind of cut from his training. He's got to save the Starlands from the evil king, and along the way is Star Chaser, this enigmatic mercenary who follows along for her own reasons. And I think that was enough to get Scout. I don't remember how we worded it specifically, but I know those were the big things that we stressed was the adventure of Oswald saving the Starlands, and then the mystery of the Star Chaser.
All right, so real quick, just to get this out of the way, the king that's overthrown by the evil king, how do you pronounce his name?
Yeah, Tyler's laughing because I was one of the. There's a lot of the jokes in the comic are translated from like in jokes that we bounced at each other for a while, and then we're like, you know what, we'll just make this an actual joke. I believe the current pronunciation would be Urus, something like that.
Yeah.
I always spelled it a different way when we would talk to each other, and then that was kind of what we thought, like, oh, what if no one can spell it correctly and it's just a different spelling each time he comes up.
Yeah, because this is before. This isn't when it was just text, kind of before we were doing, kind of semi-regular calls about Star Chaser, and yeah. So not only did we not just think, oh, we'll worry about how to pronounce it, but we kept typing it differently too. So it right now it is Urus. I believe it is. I mean, I got it right here. I can show the audience here. It's King. I always pronounce it Uris, but he thought it wouldn't translate. It is Urus, like OO-RIS.
You can pronounce it however you want to pronounce it.
Yes, we are giving that. That's part of Star Chaser. It's in the audience's hands.
Yeah,
We
anyone. Yeah,
will not tell you how to pronounce something.
Well, my head canon is that it's going to be pronounced Urus, and I guess we'll just go from there.
I like that. We're changing it, Tommy, again.
yeah, why not?
His name isn't actually in the official synopsis, which there was a lot of back and forth on this one, because which is on previewsworld.com right now. And then Tommy gave the elevator pitch. I can read this verbatim in my, my I do poetry too, so in my poetry voice. This is the official Oswald and the Star Chaser synopsis, and I got this. Let me move it over to this. This took like 2 weeks of back and forth here. So, torn from his training after King Feck usurped the throne, Space Knight Oswald Bretters embarks on a quest to save the Starlands. As headstrong as he is, even Oswald knows he can't restore the fallen kingdom alone. So he searches for his childhood heroes to bolster his ranks. With the watchful eye of King Feck omnipresent, Oswald luckily runs into all-star help. The mysterious mercenary Star Chaser joins his cause, but can she really be trusted? It all starts here, the adventure of a lifetime at the edge of space. That is what people will see next to our little, this tiny little thing in the previews catalog. They'll see that. They'll see the writers and artists, and they'll see the cover. So we hope that will convince some comic shop owners to pre-order our comic.
Well, I mean, had I read that when is this coming out? You said February, right? February what?
February 8th on shelves.
So if I was looking at previews every week like I do for the following week, if I would have seen it on February 1st, I would have like put like a mental note to go like that would have grabbed me. So hopefully it continues to. When is the final order cutoff for people that already want to pre-order it?
January 9th. It is coming up soon. By the time they see this video, it's going to be even sooner. But and especially with the holidays, it's kind of tough. I'm gonna be doing a lot of promo that last week, even the week before. I'm gonna be up visiting my family in Connecticut. I'm actually going on the plane tomorrow, but I'm gonna be doing a little stuff from my phone. Kind of, we're as a team, pushing this stuff out there.
Nice. Okay, so January 9th, we're gonna be pushing that date hard, and then February 8th is when it actually comes out. So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then we gotta wait till May after that, but that's like you said, there's a logistical reason. It's cool. I understand now. I'm not gonna be happy about it, but I'm no longer upset.
Yeah, no, especially because and I want to make this point that one thing I really like about Scout, I like a lot of stuff about Scout, but the one thing I really like is
can I time out on you real quick? I was gonna ask you why you chose Scout. Is this gonna be part of your answer?
No. And
okay, so then continue, and then we'll circle back to that one.
Yeah, and I wanted to add, and something I really like about how our publisher does their web store is that if you miss the pre-order cutoff and you go to your local comic shop, it's not there. They can't order for you for some reason. All the Scout #1s, they're always available on the Scout Comics web store, which is scoutcomics.com. So, if you're watching this video like 2-3 months ahead, even 5 months, they will have that #1 on their web store. You can order it directly. I'm not sure if someone like Image does the same thing, but I know that's super simple to, because personally, like I can never catch stuff during that pre-order period. So at least for a lot of Scout books, that's helped me. That it's and if the #1, the whole #1 first printing sells out, they do second, third printings. So that #1's really always going to be accessible. So even in a year, it's not too late. If you want to check this comic out, you're not gonna have to.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't know that they did that, and I don't know if anyone else. I mean, everybody could do it. I'm just oblivious, but like, it is cool that they do that. I had no idea. So since it's still kind of fresh, why did you guys choose Scout? Did they like how did that process go in terms of choosing who to publish your book?
We pitched to a few different publishers, and I know Scout was on the list. I saw they had a pretty expansive catalog, which kind of surprised me because I didn't know about the publisher until I was looking into like what are all the publishers that are active right now.
Oh, wow.
I looked a little bit into them, and I saw they had a pretty good reputation for the people that worked with them. So I think it was just a mix of seeing that they had a pretty good catalog, and they seemed pretty welcoming to independent creators like us. Nice. So I think it was like kind of a mutual thing. And they said, "Hey, we'll pick you up." And I was like, "All right, cool." So we went with them.
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest part, is that they sent us that email and said, "We want to pick you up." Because everyone wants their first comic, to be on Image. But there's nothing. It's really great to have yours on a kind of a Scout is definitely on. We're Scout Rising. That's their hashtag, but it's a smaller publisher. I don't expect a lot of people to know about Scout. Like they think Marvel, DC, Image, Scout. I don't expect that, but then they're getting up there. I think it's great to support kind of a smaller but still robust publishing label.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely I mean, it might be a little different in like some people's heads, but like I definitely feel like there's like a hierarchy of like publishers. Obviously, you have like your Marvel and DC, and then like some people would argue Image is up there. Personally, I'd put it right under because whatever. But like I do think that Scout is working their way up. I also wasn't crazy familiar with them up until maybe like a year or two ago. I think I finally started grabbing a couple of their books. But I do think that they're working their way up. And I think the stuff that I've read from them is like quality enough that like it's a publisher worth checking out. Like if I hear that Scout's coming out with a book, like I will give it a second look because they don't just like publish whatever. I mean, I feel like when you're a smaller publisher like that, you have to be a little, choosy. You have to go quality over quantity.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Scout definitely, from an outsider's perspective, seems like a good home for like a book for someone's like first like big deal, first book like in the direct market type of thing.
Yeah, I do want to shout out. Simon Robbins does great work on #1 as our colorist, but he does leave the book after that, and then we get a new colorist, Rebecca Good, for 2 to 6. And her coloring is as good as Simon's. She's in the Milwaukee area, Wisconsin.
Okay.
She's a Pulitzer Prize winning colorist. If you Google her name, you'll find the comic she colored.
So how did you come across her? Was she also in that subreddit, or like how that
She
transition
was
go?
a recommendation from Simon,
Yeah.
and she had worked with Tom before, so it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Oh,
She does a
okay.
very good
Yeah,
job.
I
Yeah.
think that helps if she's already worked with the artist
Yeah.
previously. I think, yeah, no, that's good. I'm glad it worked out that way, because I know that sometimes losing any member of the like creative aspect can like kind of throw a monkey wrench into everything. I'm glad that worked out. How long is this book? Is it going to be an ongoing? Is it a mini series? I know you said with Scout things are kind of weird, Tyler, but like what's the intention here?
The comic, well, right now, we have 6 issues coming out with Scout. It's a full trade, a little longer than most trades. And then going forward, we're looking at 4-issue trades, and the entire story is 30 issues.
Oh,
So
wow,
I guess
okay.
it's somewhere between an ongoing and a series of trades, because you don't get the ongoing treatment like Kirkman does at Image, where it's just there might be little breaks between the trades, but we have that full. We have the 30 issues of story, very mapped out. Obviously the scripts aren't all done. That'd be insane, but at least what happens in each one, and they're all very unique and very just packed with the Star Chaser spirit.
Wow. Okay. I mean, when I saw that it was one of 6 on previews, I'm like, oh, okay, it's a cool little mini series, whatever. I feel like that's pretty standard for the current market. But hearing that it's actually supposed to be 30 issues,
Yeah,
is kind of like nice to hear, because not a lot of like I said, like the current market, I feel like it's a lot of like 4, 5, 6 issues, maybe the occasional maxi series, unless it's a big 2 book or whatever. So it's like I feel like the industry's lacking a lot of like books that go for 20 or 30 issues and like kind of maintain like are mapped out. Like sometimes books will get to 30 issues and then they'll get canceled or whatever. But the fact that you guys have 30 issues like basically planned, and that's your intention, like it's just one complete story that's not finished in one book. I think we need more of those in comics right now. So kudos to the both of you for that, because I'm already signed up for all 30 issues. I'm in.
well, I appreciate that, and I'll let Tommy add anything on that topic if he does. But I was going to say, and then this is a bit teasing to the audience, but my favorite arcs are the last 2 issues, like 22 to 30. We have a very bombastic, great ending planned, and I think a lot of my ideas and concepting appear toward the end, where but it's always a collaborative process. But I have a lot of ideas on the ending and that whole sequence. But I really super hope we're going to keep pushing to get there. It's not going to happen over 3 years. It might take longer, but I definitely want to give everyone the full ride to get them to 30.
Well, hopefully this helps with that. Like I said, you've already may as well have my money. Hopefully a couple other people will see this and they'll, it'll get put on their radar. And even if they don't check it out until the first trade's out, like cool, whatever, as long as we're putting this book like in front of people's eyes, kind of thing. Like that's my hope for this. And obviously yours too. I mean, you're here to promote the thing. But but yeah.
How do you feel
So
about 30
that's
issues? Uh,
what was that?
I was asking Tommy, how do you feel about 30 issues?
Yeah, that's what we've got planned is the full 30 issue run, and I'm hoping we can make it there. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. No, that's good. I hope it works out. I'm like a broken record. Like I'm in for as long as the ride goes. Um, but I mean that's all I had. I covered base. Like I'm looking at all my notes right here. Oh, the only thing that I wanted to touch on that I didn't already was that I thought the humor in the book was not forced. I thought it's very like mild. Like there's the one scene where he's talking, was it the devilfish? What do they call them? And he's like, "Oh, we work alone." He's like, "Well, there's two of you." like that part, like that's my brand of comedy, as like stupid as that is. Um, but yeah, no. So that's another thing. Like you said, how like things are kind of ridiculous, but you're not winking at the audience, but at the same time, like there's still humor in there. Like I personally, like I appreciate that. So hopefully it translates well to others also.
That's definitely Tommy's humor, which in time has become my humor too, and kind of our brand of humor. And that's something I would like to talk about for a little bit. Is the humor in this book that it's a very integral, really important part for me, because there's some stories that will just be very serious throughout, or the humor is kind of here and there, but it's very consistent for us, but not in a way that makes it like a joke, a comedy genre book.
Right. It's not like overbearing.
No, for sure, but that continues through every single issue, and I guess all 30, which are going to happen. Because at least me, when I was little, I would always read or when I was little, my dad would read the Sunday comics, or the funnies, whatever you want to call them. I think they still publish those, the comics page where you have the strips like Peanuts and Dilbert and Garfield and whatever. So I've always been into that, the brands of humor in comics. I guess probably similar for you, Tommy.
I always read the newspaper comics that when I was working retail, someone always had a newspaper on the table.
It's been awesome chatting with you guys. Like I said, I'll let you go. I can't wait for this book. I really I'm half tempted to go back and read the rest of issue 1, but I want to wait until February, because then if I read it now, then I gotta wait until May instead of waiting from February to May. So
all right, how about this? Read it now. You're gonna forget half of it anyway by February, so it'll be like reading it anew. Read it now. You won't be able to sleep. You have to read it.
That's a good point. That or like I'll come back, in February and like read it with a different perspective, or I might pick up on something different than the first time.
I will say,
right.
Tom is a masterclass at putting in little details. I've reread number 1 about 100 times, and I'm always finding a new little thing, a new little character, or a new little background detail that I didn't notice. So I think issue 1 is very, very good for a rereader too. I'm not just saying that because it's my comic.
Oh, of course, right. All right. I think I'm gonna take your guys' advice, and I might go finish it after, because I want to know what happened.
Yeah, well, let us know what you thought, and anyone else who reads our comic, I'm always checking the mentions, even if you can hate on it, you can love it. I want to see what people think about it, because us I've been, because I read the script and then I see the pages and then I letter it. So I have a completely biased opinion, which is not even valid anymore for our comics. I'm just very curious what everyone thinks about it, the good and the bad, and constructive criticism will only, help us, in the long run. So.
Right. And so I'm very glad that you mentioned that part, the mention part. Where can we find you guys on social media?
So if you actually go to our website, thestarlands.com, that's all one word, the Starlands. You can find all our social medias there, and you can also find more information about the comic, including the preview code and when it's out and all that. I am on Twitter. I don't use it a whole lot. I need to use it more. But my Twitter handle is ETK Comics. And then we also have the Team Star Chaser Twitter handle, which I think Tyler.
Oh, it's actually it's at Star Chaser Comic.
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah.
And then all the other social medias for everyone else, I'll let Tyler do his own. But Rebecca, Simon, and Tom are all on that website, thestarlands.com.
Yes, and I'm talking so that my camera appears on here because it's voice activated. This is it, thestarlands.com. That's like our little hub where you can find bios about everyone, where the book, all the social media. Mine is on Twitter and Facebook. Twitter and Instagram is the same. It's the month August, the month March, ES, August Marches. And yeah, we are at Star Chaser Comic on Twitter, at starchaser.comic on Instagram. Because
you have either of you guys considered making the move to Hive yet? Apparently it's all the buzz.
I did make a Hive because my friend, he said he made a Hive buzz post on there. He wouldn't say what it was, so I was like, all right, I gotta see what the joke is. So I made one, downloaded on my phone. Wasn't worth the effort, but I haven't checked it out past that.
Yeah, that's probably where we're gonna stay because we don't have enough money to hire an actual social media person, so I pretty much run social media.
I mean, it can be a lot. Like I'm on Hive, but like it was down for a while, so I got into the habit of using it. Now it's back, and like it's gonna be like a learning period, I guess, to figure out how to use both like efficiently. Because it's just me. Like I'm not gonna hire a social media manager just to use Hive or Twitter or Instagram or whatever.
Oh yeah, we have a mail-in column, which I don't know if a lot of comics do that anymore, but we do. It's going to be in every single issue. It is, get this really close, if not you just put it up on the screen. It's spacemail@thestarlands.com, or you can just DM us. We are looking to, or we are putting fan letters. I always love fan letters, for comics and Nintendo Power and whatever. So we like to put those in the issues. It's a whole spread at the end of each issue. We want letters and fan input, fan art, cosplay. We want to get that going. Like Kirkman books have that at the end, and a bunch of other ones. So looking to get that content. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to take pictures of myself.
So all right, let's say I write it hypothetically. Who's the most likely person to be the one that like responds in that column? Is it going to be one of you two? Is it going to be the editor? Who would I be talking to?
You can request if this is something directed toward Tommy or me or Tom or Rebecca. You can specify that. Otherwise, I don't know. Maybe we'll split it half and half. Tommy. I just know Colleen's super busy. She probably won't, because I know traditionally it was letters to the editor, but she's editing a lot of books and she has her own stuff going on, so I don't want to burden her. But maybe you can bring her in if you want to talk to the editor. But one of us two, probably the artist.
Okay, cool. I mean, personally, that probably where, like, to me, like, I understand that the editors are the ones that get it, but I feel like most people, when they write something in, like, they're hoping that it's directed at like the writer, unless they're like complimenting the art specifically or something.
Yeah, no, it'll be one of us or one of us playing a character, who, whatever. It's just, but for fun. But we gotta spread in there for fun and the fan community aspect. I like that about comics, and think it's always I want it to always be a part about comics.
Right. No, I think it's fun. I think that whole like level of interaction is can only be a good thing, I think. So that's awesome that you guys are doing it. I honestly will probably write in at some point. It might not be until like issue 5 because I'll accidentally like not read 2 and then like binge them and then be like, oh, hey, blah, 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 whatever. But I'd say I wouldn't be surprised if I write in. It wouldn't be the first time. So, all right, I'm good here again for like the 3rd time. It's been great talking to you guys. I'm gonna let you go. And with that said, Paperback Dan signing out.